Good evening, and thank you for joining us on 7 After 6. I am joined this evening by United Way CEO Dawn Cole. Thank you for being my guest for my first 7 After 6 segment.
Oh, of course. Thanks for the invitation.
Very excited. So today we're going to be talking about a relatively new program that you guys have launched, Getting Ahead in the Workplace. Can you tell me a little bit about what this is and what it entails?
Well, it's based on a national model. Getting Ahead in a Just Getting By World is a workshop series that originated back in 2004. It can be found, across the country and in many other countries as well. We brought it here to the North Country in 2017, and there have been a few dozen workshops over the years, but this is the first workplace edition that has been offered in the North Country, so we're very excited.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about, because I know we've covered these in the past, Getting Ahead. This is the workplace edition, and it's really geared toward people who are already working, and they're just kind of trying to get their footing financially, right? Can you talk a little bit about what makes this one specific to the workplace?
Yes, it's really a good fit for people who are working typically in an entry-level job, trying to find their, footing, and maybe they're experiencing some relatively frequent instability in their lives, right? And so talking with employers, we recognize that turnover can be an issue that's not just a nuisance, but can be very costly, right? So this idea of how can we provide people with a curriculum, a little bit of gentle guidance, and the safe space to really kind of explore what's happening in their lives that's leading to the instability.
Yeah, and this is a 16-week program, right? And you guys are getting extremely close to the end. We'll talk a little bit about the graduation pretty soon. You have the book in front of you. I mean, what is it like seeing this group of people kind of gain more confidence in their skills financially, or whether it be in the workplace? What has it been like for you to see that growth?
It's really magical, and just to be clear, while we recognize that financial is a resource, right, and it's something we all want to build, but the workshop is about so much more than just our finances, right? And when we started 16 weeks ago, I would say there was a great deal of intrepidation. There's a little bit of anxiety when you start something new and you're meeting with a new group of people. I remember switching seats the second week in, and it gave some of us angst. But over time, we've really formed a cohort, right? We've really formed relationships. We're supporting one another. We are social capital for one another on this journey. The first portion of the workshop, really we focus on a deep dive into our own lives, what some of the patterns of behavior that may be leading to frequent instability. But then we kind of take a look at the community, and every cohort does a community assessment. So we've just finished ours, and it's been fascinating for the folks to bring back their learnings from what's happening in our community.
Yeah, so you just touched on it a little bit, just in terms of like what kind of work is usually done during this course. And you talked about, the first part, kind of like self-reflection. What are some other, things that you guys do, workshops, or some different things that you guys work on?
We talk about planning backwards, right? Kind of planning with the goal in mind. We do an assessment of our resources across a number of different domains, right? Across looking at our physical health, looking at our emotional well-being, our social capital, our role models in life. We do an assessment of our stability. Does our housing look stable? Does our income look stable? And how can we build stability in those areas where we might be a little bit weaker?
Yeah. And when did this program begin?
We started at the end of August, so we're just coming up on our 16 weeks. Graduation's next week.
Wonderful. And how many people did you guys have for this?
We're graduating 7 in this cohort.
7, awesome.
Yes.
And I wanted to touch upon, because I think it's important, in the midst of this class was a government shutdown, which is something that, no one was preparing for, and something that I'm sure you guys touched on, because it did bring up a lot of instances that people weren't prepared for. How did that work, taking that real world example and using it in this workshop?
Well, certainly a real world example indeed. And, this workshop really is, for us at United Way, it builds from our ALICE program, right? This idea of asset limited, income constrained, and employed. So these are folks that by and large keep the economy running, right? They're cashiers, they work in the service industry, and they make enough to get by kind of sort of till something goes wrong, right? In the government shutdown, we saw a lot went wrong for a lot of people who didn't maybe necessarily have the savings that they needed to carry them through the time.
Right. So, I know we just talked on this, but next week we're looking towards the graduation. What can we expect there? Where is it going to be? What kind of celebrations will be happening?
Well, it'll be a celebration indeed. It's Tuesday, December 16th. We'll be at the Strand here in Watertown on Franklin Street. We have a number of wonderful guests who will be there to share the evening with us, some leadership around the community, as well as family and friends of the graduates. And we have a really nice program. There'll be an opportunity to network a little bit, to meet the grads and talk with them about their journey, and to learn about more Getting Ahead programs coming up.
Awesome. And what are you hoping or that the grads get from this? I mean, what are you hopeful that people will learn and take with them, for years to come?
Just that, you're not in it alone, right? That we all kind of need that support. Just tonight we had a workshop and we talked about that notion of it takes a village, right? And this idea that we often equate that to raising children, but what happens as adults? Sometimes we need a village too, right? So it's this idea that even though the burden we may carry is heavy, we're not alone. Right? There are other people that have had similar experiences, and we can all help lift each other up.
Yeah, and it sounds similar. I mean, this workshop, 16 weeks, it sounds like these are going to be lifelong friends who, they'll be able to travel these storms together, in the future. If they need someone to lean on, they may have graduated from the class, but they have 6 other peers who are going through similar things.
Yeah, well said. And we actually are talking about kind of the next phase in which we'll go off script. There isn't a workbook for this, but we'll do a grassroots staying ahead. Right? We know that the journey out of poverty or the journey to economic stability is longer than 16 weeks, right? So what supports can we provide? And when I say we, I mean as a community, to help people to continue that journey and move toward stability as a norm.
Yeah. So that ties in perfectly with my next question is, what's next for this program, Getting Ahead in the Workplace? Are you guys hoping to do another rendition? I know Staying Ahead, as you just mentioned, but what other programs do you guys have coming up?
We'll look for a new cohort for Getting Ahead in the Workplace late winter, early spring. So we'll begin recruiting for that very soon. It's one of those things, getting back to that theme of it takes a village, in which we could use some support for, quite frankly, right? We had some very generous sponsors who made this workshop possible. And there's lots of ways to get involved. Maybe you encourage some of your employees to participate. Maybe you could help offset some of the cost or sponsor the workshops, or maybe bring a meal, because we always share a meal at every group.
That's awesome. And if people, think they may be a good fit, or if employers think that they have an employee who may be a good fit, can they just reach out to the United Way of Northern New York?
Oh, please do. Absolutely.
Awesome. Anything else that you'd like to add, just in terms of either the graduation next week, this program? As you said, this was kind of the first Getting Ahead in the Workplace that you guys have done. Just anything about the success of that you'd like to touch on?
I think there were 2 facilitators in the room, myself and my colleague, April Bennett. And I would say that it wasn't a teacher-student scenario, but we all learned from each other, and it was a very enriching experience. So I look forward to doing it again.
Awesome. Dawn, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you being here on 7 After 6. Thank you all for joining us online, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.